Hi guys, my name's Lindsay. A few of you guys might be subscribed and know me from my older CPA exam videos, but if you're new here, feel free to subscribe and check out my older videos on how I passed audit, BEC, and the FAR exam. So I left the reg exam as my last exam, and I didn't plan to take it. I wanted to take a break, but I last minute decided to cram it down to a time period of less than a month in order to try to pass it at least before I started working full time. And as of a few nights ago, I found out that I passed, and I figured I might as well make a video on my study methods because as my last CPA exam video, I feel like I really got down a strong method that I was really comfortable with for studying for such a huge exam because it's the second hardest exam. It has the second most material to cover. This video, I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible because I do have to walk to work in 20 minutes, but I'm just going to give you guys a rundown of kind of the most important points that I hit when I was studying, and I'm also going to be attaching a calendar to this video that you guys can view and maybe even use for yourselves if you guys want to cram reg and pass it. Also inserting here, I did use the Becker study material. It was provided by my company. I don't know if this applies to Ninja or Wiley or Gleim study software, but I'm sure you can tailor it towards your needs. So I think the first thing that I have to start off with is my calendar, and I used this calendar here. It was super helpful, and this is by Trina Turk, and basically this is the rundown of what I did. So there were 4 weeks that I used to study. First 3 weeks I covered all of the new material, so there were 8 total chapters. So week 1 I'd cover chapters 1, 2, 3. Week 2 I would cover chapters 4, 5, and 6, and week 3 I would cover 7 and 8. So that is 3 weeks to cram in a huge amount of material, a book this big with so many details and so many tax regulations. And then that left me with the 4th week to kind of just like let everything marinate and practice. So let's just start off with the first 3 weeks. And these few weeks I would say are the absolute toughest because your foundation of the understanding of what you're getting into with this book is the most shaky because you haven't seen everything yet. But my best advice is write down a calendar, and as soon as you do that, you see that when you skip studying a chapter, it messes up everything else in the future for your next few weeks. So that's why I highly recommend that you break it down by chapter, by module, and as soon as you say a day and say, I don't want to do chapter 4's first modules today, then you suddenly realize, wait, well if I do it tomorrow, then I can't do tomorrow's assigned chapter. So that is so important. I'm a visual learner and I don't see anybody being successful without a firm plan. So during these 3 weeks of absorbing all the new material, I had what I like to call a night shift, followed by a day shift, I guess. The day shift I would do in the morning, and this is kind of when you first get your view of the material. And so say it was a Monday and I was like, okay, this week I have to cover chapters 1, 2, and 3. So it's Monday, so I'm going to cover maybe like the majority of chapter 1's modules, so like maybe 6 modules in chapter 1. And so how would I cover those modules within the chapters? I would get out the book, and you can do this in the physical book, but I like to read the book online because it's pre-annotated and kind of pre-highlighted. I just liked that. And I would speed read it in likely less than 15 minutes. I would just highlight important concepts and I'd kind of get a grasp of what is covered in the book. I would highlight the important regulations, kind of the things that go in the K1, just significant information because there's so many filler words in the book. You want to speed read it. And I would do minimal note taking, but I definitely would take notes during this process and at least have a note paper. The header would be the name of the module, and then I would kind of just write brief notes of kind of what might be in the income statement. Never anything word for word. Big topics are key here. So that would kind of take me a brief amount of time, but what I would do next is I would go through all of the multiple choice questions for that module, and this would sometimes take hours, which was really frustrating because it's your first view of raw information. And sometimes I'd only get 30% right on the first go through of multiple choice questions. But don't be hard on yourself. Clearly I was doing that and I ended up passing. So just know that your first view of information, your understanding is so shaky. First go round of multiple choice questions for that module, I just sped read the book. I'm not going to get most right, but I would take very diligent notes on the multiple choice questions. Now, why did I take better notes with the multiple choice questions and not the book? Well, what is the exam? The exam is not to recite the book word for word. The exam is to answer 70-ish, 60-ish multiple choice questions and simulations. Multiple choice questions, that's where you want your skill set to be. So take diligent notes. Do you see like tricky words that Becker keeps on putting in to trip you up? Like the exam loves to trick you. Make a note of that and highlight it. So then I keep on going through until I finally hit 100% accuracy with the multiple choice questions. Sometimes this would be so frustrating. I remember with FAR on bonds, I never hit 100%. But you know what? Just don't get stuck. Just get to a point where you're comfortable of what the topic is and a fundamental understanding of what questions might be asked, and then move on. This is to the point of like if you're crying, but if it's tricky, like try to push through. But it's important to never get too stuck with the exam, but especially when you're on a cramped timeline. That would be my first day shift. Now, that is, your first like raw like slam of information, and I would do that for several hours every single day. And some days I would cover a whole chapter that is 8 modules and hundreds of multiple choice questions. And sometimes I would do this from 9 a.m. until like 3 p.m. Not everybody has this option, but kind of just space out the days for what works best with your schedule. By then, during the day, I would have taken a lot of new information. Now this comes into kind of my night shift, the last few hours of the day. And this is when I would review information. And so kind of during my review, I would be home at that part because during the morning I'd be at the library. And I would just sit at my desk and say in that morning, hypothetically, I studied chapter 2. You know what my review is going to be on? Chapter 1. And another scenario, say that day, that morning, I studied chapter 6. Then at night, my review is going to be on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's kind of like a snowball effect of continually kind of reviewing the topics. And review is going to be different for everybody, but just remember the exam is multiple choice questions and simulations. Review is not going to be handwriting the book, let me tell you. When I would be doing reviewing, say I was reviewing a few chapters, I would book closed, no simulations. I would just walk through every single multiple choice questions, hundreds in a night, and I'd make a point to write down the topics that were just continuously stumping me. And so you can kind of see, like in my agenda, like Tuesday, October 2nd, I physically wrote down AMT, study AMT, because I kept on ruining, those questions were just ruining my confidence, and I was like, I need to make a time to study AMT. Or also maybe DNI for estates and trusts, or depreciation for like 1231, etc. Like those were stumping me. So you write those down and you make a point to read the book after your review and get down those topics. So you want to be doing conscientious studying and very aware, because you don't want to be mindlessly going through things. Like you want to be kind of seeing what are your strong points, your weak points, as you're really reviewing the information that you've gone through. So you might even find that maybe you have like an amazing understanding of K1s, then make a note, don't review that chapter over and over again and do those multiple choice questions, because what's it going to benefit you if you already know it? So just be aware of what you're acing and what you're struggling with, so that those review hours of multiple choice questions are super efficient. So now that I've gone through my day and my night shifts of kind of my first intake of information, I kind of want to talk about passive studying, and I would do this a lot. And passive studying, it's not that passive, honestly. It's still not very fun, but that's studying for you. And one thing that I would do is authoritative literature is a part of the exam, and this is kind of, I'd passively study in a sense. Like I would just do AL, authoritative literature, when I was in bed at the end of the day. I was too tired to sit at a desk to be writing notes, because you don't need to write notes for the authoritative literature. And I just kind of like play around, like check out the folders, like read through the Internal Revenue Code, do a few practice ones. I mean, like don't go ham. It's only going to be a few points in the exam, but at least know how the search tab works in the authoritative literature. And another thing is, another way to passively studying, kind of like low-key, not too aggressive, is like bring the book around with you in the car. And I remember my book had so many sticky notes, because when I was reading the book in the car, I would just hit topics that I wanted to go back to. So I would add that to my list of things to study. Maybe non-taxable transfers. Like I saw that in the book and I was like, wait, why does this look new to me? Just make a note of it and kind of know to go back to it during your next review session. And so that passive studying was crucial to kind of just keep things fresh in my mind, to kind of just keep on going strong. And I would be doing this during the full 3 weeks of my first intake of material. And you may have noticed that I don't really talk about simulations in this, and you know what? I think they're a waste of time. That's just me, but I didn't really do them because, so think about it, a simulation is diluted with so many documents, so much information that is in no way going to be the exact same on the exam. You're wasting time reading documents on like, I don't know, on Bob's computer shop or something, and like you want the most direct intake of information, if that makes sense, which multiple choice questions are. But I mean, I might do those passively, like on the sofa watching TV, but multiple choice questions teach you everything, and you can apply that information to the simulations. This gets into my 4th week of studying, the last week before the exam, and there are 7 days, and I would do mock exam 1, 2, 3, and then I would just bang out multiple choice questions for the last few days. So for the mock exams, let's see, I would do them in honestly like 2 hours. Don't do your best on the mock exams. It's a waste of time. So in the real exam, you're stuck on a question, and if you have time during the exam, really think, the gears are grinding in your head, take your time, get it right. But if you're in the mock exam and you're spinning your wheels on a multiple choice question that doesn't make sense to you, why waste your time? Click answer C, submit the mock exam, and go back and read it right and understand how to do it. Because like, why like waste your time learning how to do something wrong when you're trying to reason with how to answer something on a mock exam? Just go get the right answer. It's way easier. Honestly, during the mock exams, sometimes I wouldn't even do the simulations, because I don't think that they're a good use of your time. I would do them if I had spare time, but like, think about it. You spend 30 minutes on a simulation on just how to do a K1 versus 30 minutes of multiple choice questions. You're gonna cover K1s, DNI, AMT, like just so many other topics. Don't waste your time, honestly. Another thing that I'd also do is, when I was reviewing during my last few days, more multiple choice questions after my mock exams, it was literally just multiple choice questions. Like, I was like, okay, Lindsay, you have 4 days until your exam. Day 1, do all the multiple choice questions for chapters 1, 2, 3. Day 2, I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6 multiple choice questions, hundreds of them. Day 3, chapters 7 and 8, multiple choice questions. And then day 4, which is the day before the exam, I would do nothing. I don't study the day before the exam. It psychs me out. I get nervous. I answer everything wrong because I'm so anxious. That's just me. Maybe you want to get in that more material, but that's totally up to you. So that is how I studied and passed the rec exam in 4 weeks. The calendar is going to really help you guys make more sense of everything that I said. I think that structure of my time period of how I studied is crucial to how I did it. But I mean, at the end of the day, my best advice is multiple choice questions are your best friends. It's kind of the lazy way to study. You don't do the lectures, you don't get hung up on the sims, you just get that intake of information over and over again that you can apply to all aspects of the exam. And trust me when I say you want that, because a sim is likely not going to cover like the silly little details of things. It's likely like big concepts like K1s. but the brunt of the exam is those little weird topics that you don't expect, like contracting or something. So that is my advice for you guys. If you have any questions, ask them down below. I am gonna edit this and I hope it made sense. But I have to go to work. Things are getting really busy for the year end and I'm like kind of brain fried recently. But yeah, thanks guys so much for the support. I'm going to be making my next video on kind of CPA exam misconceptions and just general things that I've learned along the way and stuff that Becker doesn't tell you. But other than that, have a lovely day, and just so blessed that I'm making this how I pass video, because that means I'm done. So bye guys, I'm gonna go to work now.